Hi there and welcome to another video from Hegarty Maths. It's Mr. Hegarty here, and in this video we're solving quadratic equations as they arise from algebraic fractions. Okay, let's start with something we already know. From prior learning, we've talked about algebraic fractions before and we've actually just simplified them. So I want you to pause the video and double check you can simplify an expression like this involving algebraic fractions. Pause, have a go. Now if you can't do that, you really won't be able to do this video, so make sure you go back to the manipulating expressions section and you work on your building blocks for this particular video. But if you do know this, hopefully you got the following answer. In order to do it, you would have made them both have a common denominator of 2x. So in this case you would have multiplied numerator and denominator by x. In this case you would have multiplied numerator and denominator by 2, and then you could subtract the tops and you would have got x squared subtract 8 over 2x. Now if you got that, happy days. If you don't understand that, please go back to your building blocks. Okay, right, let's have a look at the type of problem we're going to deal with here. Instead of simplify x over 2 subtract 4 over x, someone's going to say solve x over 2 subtract 4 over x equals -1. So it's an equation because it's got an equal sign. And we solve equations. We don't just simplify like we do with expressions. Now you might say, why is this in the quadratic equations section? Well, we'll see. What should you do here? Well, the first thing you should do is combine where possible the algebraic fractions, or simplify them like we just did here. So I'd expect you to do all these steps as your first set of steps and get yourself to this line and state that x squared subtract 8 all over 2x is equal to -1. Now I want to solve for x. I don't like the dividing by 2x here, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2x in order to cancel out that dividing by 2x, and I'm going to get myself on the left hand side x squared subtract 8. Now to solve a quadratic I must have it equal to 0, so let me undo this -2x by adding 2x to both sides. Okay, and tidying up, let's write them in the order with x squared first. So I'd have x squared, I'd have add 2x, and I'd have myself subtract 8 is equal to 0. Your first port of call when trying to solve a quadratic equals 0, try and factorize if you can. Here I can factorize this in the following way. So I'm going to get myself either x add 4 is equal to 0, or x subtract 2 is equal to 0, and therefore x is -4 is one answer, or x is going to be +2 is another answer. And there you go, I've solved a quadratic equation that came from an algebraic fraction. Alright, so let's continue and have a go at some more. If you feel like you can, pause the video and have a go at this. Okay, I need to make them have the same denominators. So the easiest thing to do is multiply this by x add 1 on top and bottom. And this one I need to multiply by x on top and bottom. Okay, so that I've got a factor of x on the bottom and x plus 1 on the bottom. I should put a bracket around that. Now if I do that, on this one I'm going to get, just don't expand it out in one go, write 3x add 1 like that over x add 1. And here, subtract, don't forget you've got to subtract. 4 multiplied by x, just write as 4x, and on the bottom write that as x plus 1, so it looks like the other one. And don't forget you've got an equal 1. Now we should probably expand that out, so we're going to have ourselves 3x add 3, and we can, because the denominators are the same, we can subtract the top, so subtract 4x all over the same denominator of x add 1. Okay, now collecting like terms here, I've got positive 3x, take away 4x, so that's going to be -x, and I've still got a 3 here. So this is 3 subtract x over x add 1 is equal to 1. Now, I don't like this expression on the bottom here, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x add 1 in order to cancel this x add 1 on the denominator there. So therefore I'm going to get 3 subtract x is going to be 1 multiplied by this, and 1 multiplied by x, bracket x add 1 is just x, bracket x add 1, which you can multiply out and get yourself x squared plus x. Now I'm going to write this the other way around. I'm going to just swap the sides temporarily here. I hope you don't mind. I get x squared add x is going to equal 3 subtract x. I like my x squareds on this side. Now, I need one side equal to 0 to solve a quadratic, so I'm going to subtract 3 off both sides here, and I'm going to add on x to both sides. So I'm going to subtract 3 here and add on an x here. Now, I'm just going to move over here. You should go down the page. I'm just going to do it on the same page as you. Let's go back to this one. I'm going to get myself x squared add 2x subtract 3 is equal to 0 when I perform that operation. Try and factorize. I get a factorization of x add 3, x subtract 1 is equal to 0. And this gives me x add 3 equals 0 or x subtract 1 equals 0. Subtracting 3 from both sides, x is negative 3. Or adding 1 to both sides, x is positive 1. They are my two answers and I'm done. Next one. Pause the video, have a go. Same stuff is going on here. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x add 2 here. And x add 2, so the denominator has x add 2, and this one I'm going to multiply, let me just put a bracket around there, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x, so the denominator again is the same, it's x add 2. Then when I do that, I would get over here 3x add 2 over x add 2, add 4x over x add 2 is equal to 1. I can times this out and add the fractions at the same time, so I get 3x add 6 add 4x all over x add 2 is equal to 1. Now I don't like this factor of x add 2 on the bottom, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x add 2 in order to cancel this, so they cancel like that. And by the way, 3x add 4x is 7x. So I get 7x add 6 left over, and that's going to equal x squared add 2x. Now I'm going to write them the other way around. I just like my x squareds on the left hand side. So I get x squared add 2x is equal to 7x add 6. Now I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides and subtract 6. So subtract 7x from both sides, subtract 6. Just so I've got one side of the quadratic equaling 0, and I'm going to get x squared subtract 5x, subtract 6 equals 0. This factorizes really nicely. X subtract 6, x add 1 is 0, and therefore x subtract 6 is 0, or x add 1 is 0. So in this case, add 6 to both sides, I'd get the answer x is 6. Subtract 1 off both sides, I'd get x is negative 1. They're my two answers. I'm done. Next one. Pause, have a go. Same as always, simplify the algebraic fraction. You need to think of this 3x as 3x over 1. Okay? And then you need to make the denominators the same. So I'd multiply this one by x add 2 on the numerator and denominator. Okay? Then this one would be 7 subtract, that's 3x brackets x add 2. Okay, I'm just jumping the line there, I'm sure you get. I can just subtract them straight away when the denominators are the same. Over x add 2 is going to equal 2. Let's multiply out this here, and what would we get? Think of that as negative 3x multiplying in. So 7, negative 3x times x is negative 3x squared. Negative 3x times positive 2 is negative 6x. All over x add 2 is going to equal 2. Now I'm going to multiply here by x add 2. In order to cancel, I'm going to multiply both sides by x add 2 to cancel this x add 2 here, because dividing by the x is annoying me. So I'm going to get myself 7 subtract 3x squared subtract 6x is going to equal 2 multiplied by this, which I need to expand out, 2x add 4. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3x squared to both sides. I'm going to add 6x to both sides and take away 7 from both sides to get my get one side equal to 0. So remember, I'm going to add 6x here in the column with 6x. I'm going to take away 7 here, and don't forget I'm going to add 3x squared as well. Alright, so therefore I'd get, on this side I'd get 0. Now on this side I've got nothing add 3x squared. I'm going to write the 3x squared first. I've got 2x add 6x, which is 8x, and I've got myself positive 4 take away 7, which is negative 3. Now at this stage you've got to be able to factorize these by grouping. Now I'm not going to go through the factorization of this here. You need to have practiced these loads, but I'm just going to tell you what this factorizes to. So go back to grouping if you don't understand how this works. It would factorize as follows, and therefore either 3x subtract 1 is 0 or x add 3 is 0. In this case, add 1 to both sides and divide by 3. I'd get x is positive a third. In this case, subtract 3 off both sides. I'd get x is equal to negative 3. That's my answer here, and that's my answer here. And that's it for this video. Other than in the PDF below, there's one really hard example that also uses the quadratic formula. Thanks very much for watching.